morning, I'm Debra Pinkerton. Jeff Coleman will join us in just a moment. We want to welcome you to this special edition of Morning Light, our exclusive coverage of the largest human rights event ever in Pennsylvania, the 4th annual Pennsylvania March for Life. Thousands of men and women arrive at the Pennsylvania State Capitol complex for the March for Life.
Your commitment to life, it is crucial in changing hearts and minds throughout the Commonwealth.
The annual event is used to empower women to choose life and to defend the dignity of the unborn.
The Supreme Court did not end abortion. They simply gave the decision back to you and me, the American people.
The U.S. Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade does not affect Pennsylvania. In the Keystone State, abortion is available through the end of the 23rd week of pregnancy, and after that time, in certain cases when a woman's life is in danger. Statistics show in 2022, Pennsylvania doctors performed nearly 35,000 abortions, and that's why women, men, and children gather each year in Harrisburg. And Jeff is at the State Capitol complex for the PA March for Life, which is hosted by March for Life and the Pennsylvania Family Institute. Jeff, how's it going there? It looks like you're going to need your umbrella this morning.
Debra, this has been an extraordinary morning already. The buses have been arriving. I saw the governor drive up. He's going to be getting the pro-life message, and it's raining here at the Capitol, but I think what's beautiful about this is that the pro-life movement is an all-weather movement. It's the largest, as Debra, you just said, human rights demonstration annually in Pennsylvania, and much like, I'd say, the civil rights movement of the 1960s, this is a movement that is driven by people of faith. There is a deep moral and ethical component to this, but based on the theme that they have this morning, let me read it to you. It's the 4th annual Pennsylvania March for Life, calling for protections of preborn children, support for mothers and families. It's that support for mothers and families that really makes this march a joyful, optimistic march. In every way, this march is about not just having a baby, but making sure that mothers are supported before, during, and after birth. We're so grateful this morning to have a distinguished panel joining us under the rain, under a little tarp here in front of the stage. And you don't see folks here right now because you have, we'll have the arrival in just a minute of some buses. So from time to time, you're going to get a little interruption there. But let me introduce our panel. We've got Representative Clint Owlett. You met him the other day, if you remember, up there in Wellsboro, up on the northern tier. They had some terrible flooding. And Representative Owlett, first, let me just ask, how are the families in Wellsboro? People on Morning Light have been praying for you and the churches that have been responding.
Yeah, we had the presidential declaration that came down about a week and a half ago, and that's been very helpful for those that really need that little extra support to get back on their feet. So that's been a good sense of hope, but the community still comes together, and they're working together, they're praying for each other, they're serving each other, and we have some other service organizations that are actually coming back in to help with some rebuilding, so that's good.
It really is the whole life message, really. I mean, when you're thinking about supporting pregnant moms, you're also talking about a community responding in every need. Let me give you some statistics to begin with. Debra started out with statistics. Here's another one. Live births in Pennsylvania are 130,252. Those are the 2022 statistics. The abortion rate in Pennsylvania is around 35,000, so 34,838. Those statistics are from the Department of Health. So really, when we're talking about this, we're talking about 1 in 5 pregnancies ending in abortion. Kristin, on this 4th annual Pennsylvania March for Life, what does it mean to be pro-life in Pennsylvania?
Well, I think that this year's theme is key. It is exactly what we need to be about. It is about lifting up women, helping them through a very vulnerable and challenging time, providing them with the care, the kindness, the compassion, the love, and the resources that they need to choose life. And
I've been watching these signs, Kristin, as people have been arriving, and they are compassionate signs. These aren't scolds. These aren't mean people. These are people that say, there's signs occasionally you see at pro-life rallies, we'll adopt. we love you, we care for you.
Absolutely, and that is always the message here at our March for Life in Harrisburg. And that we care about the moms, we care about the babies, and we want to help them choose life.
Beautiful message. Daniel, you're 19. You're not elected to public office, but you've got opinions. Tell me what your generation is wrestling with when they hear this issue of abortion. It seems like the presidential candidates would love to simplify it, make it just a simple choice between reproductive freedom and no freedom at all.
Yeah.
It seems, though, it's much more complicated for your generation. How are you processing this?
Yeah, it's really become a thing of there's a difference between generations, and a lot of issues it feels like the younger generation is just getting yelled at by older generations, and it's a lot to handle. And it's the same sense of, as opposed to telling people, okay, you can't have abortion, it's bad, let's open the conversation just to here's why you shouldn't want to. Here's why you shouldn't
An affirmative
have
case.
to. Let's support you. Let's love on you. And if you look back in history, every time that a big shift has had to happen, it's because the church has stepped in. And so the church can't try to just be counterculture. The church actually needs to step in and try to dictate culture and say, we're going to love these families. We're going to support these families. These foster homes, we have offering money that we can help bless these homes and help foster an environment where it's not just you need to have this baby and you need to take care of it because you made a dumb decision.
That is a very, very different message, I think, from the way that the pro-life movement is often portrayed. Clint, you've been involved in the pro-life movement for a very long time. Pregnancy care centers, speaking in affirmative ways of how to love pregnant moms and the child that they carry. What is your message? What does it mean in 2024 in this political environment to be pro-life?
You know, I think that one thing that always comes to my mind is the vast array of resources that are out there and the support networks that want to help pregnant women, you know, that may be finding themselves in a challenging situation. Those support networks are out there, and they're ready, willing, and able to help. I think right now, I mean, it is a unique time because all 50 states are trying to come up with different messages, which is odd. And you're going to see different movements. What it looks like in New York State might look different than Pennsylvania. But in the messaging, but the reality is when you boil it down to scripture, listen, we're all fearfully and wonderfully made. There's no mistakes. And I think that's what we need to focus on as much as anything and boil it down to that basic truth that we all know. And when we do that, it makes it simple. And whether it's you're struggling through an unwanted pregnancy or ill-timed, you know, or even mental health issues, you know, everybody, we are fearfully and wonderfully made. We need to lean in on that.
So let me get into the reality that on the other side of this issue is Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood is spending tens of millions of dollars, at least $40 million across the country. You see their ads. They are on the ground. You're reclaiming the color pink, I see, Senator, from Planned Parenthood. But let me read you their agenda. Planned Parenthood's Pennsylvania agenda, repeal counseling requirements, meaning women would not have access to full prenatal advice during their pregnancy. Repeal the 24-hour waiting period, which has been in place since 1989. Repeal abortion limits after 6 months for a very undefined mental health description. Shut down pregnancy care centers. Senator Hill, if pregnancy care centers go away, what is the implication of that if Planned Parenthood gets their way?
Well, I can speak to what's happening in York. You know, we have an incredible women's resource center. 1 in 6 children that were born last year in York came through that pregnancy care center.
1 in
6. 461 moms and their children. But what's so powerful about that pregnancy resource center is that they are there for the mom during her pregnancy. Then they are there when that baby is in the cradle, and then they support that family until that child is in kindergarten. What do you need? Is it housing? Is it health care? Is it a job? Is it a crib? Is it diapers? Is it mental health counseling? Or is it parenting classes? They are all there for them with kindness, with compassion, with love, and without judgment.
Wow, without judgment. Daniel, one of the categories of people in this abortion discussion that's often left out are young dads. You're 19, so a lot of your peers have already had children or fathered children. Pregnancy care centers have really shifted their message in many ways to support dads too. Why is that important to invite dads into the conversation, not just pull the curtain and say, look, this is just between a woman and her doctor?
Yeah, in a lot of those instances, you see even looking at like statistics of when families go to church, when the father is the one leading that charge, that is the highest rate of the entire family staying saved the whole way through they die, like through the time they die. It's not just the mother and the child. The father is also actively participating, and if he feels separated from day one, you're already driving this kind of space between, rather than being this emphatic father that wants to love on their child. My brother here right now, my oldest brother already has a kid, and my other brother, they're expecting in December. And just to see the joy on his face when he talks about all of these amazing things he's going to be able to do with their son, like that should excite everyone.
So it's important to invite dads into this conversation, but doing it in the respectful way, Kristin, that you described. Clint, your thoughts on the importance of fathers and dads as a part of this conversation?
I mean, listen, I've had a great relationship with my dad, my granddad, and the opportunity that dads have to speak truth and really helping raise their kids is so important. So dads need to be engaged, and leaning in on that. I mean, the important conversations that you can have with your kids and helping guide them and point them to truth is so important. So to have fathers, just kind of being pushed off to the side as, you're not really important it's discouraging for us as dads who want to be engaged in our kids' lives and are. So dads all around need to lean in on this. I think it's so important.
We've got about a minute left. I wanted to talk to you. There's a faith component to this, that we believe that people are made in the image of God and deserve dignity and respect and protected under law. Why is it important that Christians don't ignore this issue and say there's so many other issues in the world? Clint, why do they need to be involved? Take 15 seconds.
I think they need to be involved because it's something that we're talking about here in our state capitol, and it affects their lives. It really does, and it affects the lives of the people in their community and the people that they are serving and having relationships with at the coffee shop. So we need to be engaged on it and know what's going on. It's an important topic.
Daniel?
Yeah, again, back to what I said earlier, the church needs to set the pace on what needs to happen, what needs to change. And so if they want to see things happen, it can't just be an election topic. It has to be an everyday topic of here's how we are supporting families and mothers and expecting mothers this week.
Senator Hill, you get the final word.
Well, if Christians do not engage in the public square, people who don't share their views and values will make decisions on their behalf. And they're not going to be happy with that. And that's why it's so important for them to engage and bring their views and their values and their voice to stand up for what they believe in.
Thank you all for participating. We'll look for you both up at the stage. Daniel, you'll be in the crowd. Thank you all for watching our coverage of the 4th Annual Pennsylvania March for Life, focused on caring for moms, the children they carry, and those beautiful babies. We're so thankful that you're joining us. Debra, back to you in the studio.
So, there I am, 3 abortions, a Christian honor student, and just felt like there was no hope for me, that God certainly didn't want to have anything to do with me.
And that is certified Christian counselor Wendy Burpee, who is one of the featured speakers at today's Pennsylvania March for Life rally. There is hope for women struggling with the decision on whether to keep an unplanned pregnancy. A West Philadelphia women's clinic can provide help and hope to women facing this decision. Joining me is Brooke Norman, Executive Director of AlphaCare. Brooke, thanks for being with us.
My pleasure.
Brooke, tell me about AlphaCare.
Well, for 44 years, AlphaCare has been serving women and children and their families in Philadelphia. Most women first come to AlphaCare when they've taken an at-home pregnancy test that's positive, or they're feeling changes in their body and they're not sure if they're really pregnant or not. AlphaCare is often the first place that they come for our medical services to confirm that pregnancy.
So tell me, how do you share God's love with them when they're making this decision, or when they actually see that, yes, there is a baby growing inside of me?
Well, the first part is treating them with love and respect and sharing the truth of their situation with them and the truth of the resources available to them, both at AlphaCare and from other places. From a spiritual standpoint, we do pray for many women. 99% of them do say yes when we offer prayer. And we get a lot of reviews, actually, of women speaking to how positive that is for them. And later in relationship, we're often able to share Christ with them. But in that first appointment in the ultrasound room, a lot of it is listening to them, hearing their story, what their circumstances are. And then as they've gotten the results of their pregnancy test, they're seeing the ultrasound, we're able to speak about all the resources that are available to them should they choose to parent and to continue. But a lot of it is making sure that they don't feel judged, that there's not it's such a hard place, that there's not added hardship emotionally from us, but that we're a safe, caring, trustworthy place. Professional staff nurses under the direction of a medical director, where they're receiving excellent health care, but also spiritual and emotional care.
Yeah, and that is certainly so comforting for them, I'm sure. So for the women who say, yes, I want to keep this baby, what are the next steps? How do you help?
Well, in that first medical appointment, we're able to gather, do they have insurance or not? What neighborhood from the city are they coming to? What transportation do they have available to them? And from there, we're able to help them figure out where to go for ongoing prenatal care. In a long-term sense, we help them begin to think about what it would be like to parent and what they'll need to have a safe and healthy environment for the baby to come into. At AlphaCare, we provide childbirth class and lactation support. We also have professional social workers who provide case management, helping women connect to resources and make a plan and goals that they can meet for the coming really years ahead. And we have other things like trauma healing workshops and a mom's community group, Bible study, as well as other programming that's available to them.
Wow, you certainly offer so much. Once the baby is born, do you continue to help them?
Yeah, and that's been a part of AlphaCare's mission from the beginning, and the number one reason I hear supporters come behind AlphaCare. We're not just there for that moment of decision, but really we walk alongside them. And I know, especially for the large majority of women who come to AlphaCare that don't have a supportive or an involved father of the baby or other people in their lives that they can depend on, the relationship with AlphaCare and our staff and the care they receive for the coming years as they're pregnant and into those next chapters of parenting is really transformative for them.
That's really wonderful. Talk to us about your story. How did you get involved?
Well, I'm born and raised in Philadelphia. My parents were both in ministry, so I grew up really having a deep understanding of both the joys of the city, but also the needs there. And while it's, for me, not a political motivation, it really is a love for women and children there. But I felt a strong calling from the Lord and sense on my life that He would have me serve at AlphaCare. And while I haven't had an abortion myself, choices that I've made in my life, I very easily could have been in the shoes of a woman that comes through AlphaCare's doors with an unplanned pregnancy. And so I want AlphaCare, and it is the type of service I'd want to receive if I was in that place, because even though I kind of look shiny and have, like, on the outside a perfect package, I'm not a perfect person either, and have a lot of history myself where I easily could have been there.
Thank you so much for sharing this with us. And I know you're headed down to the state capitol to be there with Wendy Burpee. Thank you again.
Thank you for having me.
And we are going to take a live look at the state capitol complex, where the Pennsylvania March for Life rally will begin in about 90 minutes. After the break, we will join Jeff for a preview.
Okay, we're live.
Hi, Jeff and Debra. This is Scott Barger. I'm here with a bunch of friends from Blair County. We're on our way to Huntington County to pick up a couple of more, and the next stop, Harrisburg. We're on our way to the Pennsylvania March for Life. Can't wait to be there. Can't wait to see you. Say hello, everybody. We are on our way to Harrisburg to join you.
Well,
folks,
thank you, Scott. I know buses are coming from all over Pennsylvania today. A lot of buses, Michael. Michael Geer, the president of the Pennsylvania Family Institute, one of the co-organizers of today. What are you expecting? This is a rainy day, Michael.
Well, it is a rainy day, but we're still expecting about 60, at least 60 buses coming from every corner of the state, people leaving as early as 3:30 in the morning to get here. This is our 4th annual March for Life, and we're expecting a big crowd. Of course, rain can't dampen our hearts in terms of standing for the sanctity of life. I mean, our signs this year are PA, Pennsylvania, Heart, Life. We love life in Pennsylvania, and that's what this is a testimony to.
Michael, it is such a positive and optimistic message, really a major difference from what the other side has been saying, which has been very, very focused on redefining terms of economic or freedom, using the term freedom and reframing it as reproductive freedom. What's wrong with the reframing of that issue?
Well, it's just not correct. It's just not the reality of what life is in the womb. When we're talking about reproductive freedom, number one, if we're talking about reproduction, we're talking about the next human being. When a woman becomes pregnant, that is a second life. It's distinct DNA, distinct in every way. It's a different human being. And so, you know, it's amazing in medical technology that we have. The real healthcare, reproductive healthcare, is what they're doing for babies in the womb that might have spina bifida diagnosis or brain tumors or heart issues or whatever. They can actually operate in the womb on those little tiny babies so that when they're born, they're healthy, they're fine. And that's the kind of healthcare that we need in America, and not the disposing of life because people don't want them or think they're worth living.
What is the main message from the main stage today? Really, I've heard a lot of conversation about moms and their babies. What is the big message of the 4th Annual March for Life?
Well, it's very important that we not forget that is an individual human being in the womb. So, yes, we are all about helping moms and creating a society that embraces life, that supports the moms and the dads for that matter. Every human life takes 2 human beings to come together to create it. And so we are talking about, number one, the humanity of the unborn child and the reason that it is a human person that deserves protection. But then also, how do we come alongside a society that respects life, that says we are going to help those in need, the vulnerable, those who are challenged, and a society that tells them, don't worry about it or just dispose of it, when the reality is we can help and we can make a difference.
I think a lot of people would love to know why you care. I'm just going to ask you personally. You and Susan have been involved in the pro-life movement for a very long time. What was the moment that you decided that this was an issue, the civil rights and human rights issue of our time for your family? Why did you get involved so long ago?
Well, it was, more than 40 years ago that my wife and I helped start the first pregnancy resource center in Pittsburgh. And what really gripped our hearts, my wife was pregnant with our first, saw an ultrasound, read a book called The Silent Holocaust that talked specifically about that human being, that distinct human being, and how a society, since Roe versus Wade, our American society was willing to dispose of human beings. That's a blight on our history. It's against our Declaration of Independence. It's against biblical principles. And that gripped our hearts, and we've been working towards promoting the sanctity of life ever since.
So if there's somebody watching today who is running for office this year and they're kind of playing with words, deciding whether or not what side of the issue they're going to stand on, what's the message to those politicians in 30 seconds who have in their heart, in their conscience, know that they need to be on the side of life, but are in a political environment worrying about electability, worrying about whether or not they'll go back to Washington or Harrisburg?
Well, I'm not going to say that it's easy for them because the amount of money that's being spent to promote a pro-abortion message. But very simply, I think when you make the case about the humanity of the unborn child and make the case that we as a society can come together to help vulnerable girls and women, when you make that case, Americans, I think, in their hearts will come around to believe that and to support it.
Michael Geer, president of the Pennsylvania Family Institute, the co-host of the 4th Annual Pennsylvania March for Life. If you have never been to one, my daughter Ann and I have been coming since she was very young. It is one of the most encouraging experiences I think you'll ever have. No yelling, no shouting, just a lot of compassion of a very serious issue, the largest, most significant civil and human rights issue of our time. Jeff Coleman here at Morning Light. We'll be right back after these breaks.
Welcome back. The Pennsylvania March for Life kicks off at 10 with the pre-rally concert. At 11, the rally begins, and at noon, the march steps off. Lighthouse TV will carry the rally live at 11. Now, Jeff, your closing thoughts.
Well, look, in 1847, Debra, a man named Frederick Douglass came to Harrisburg in 1847, along with an abolitionist named William Lloyd Garrison. He was egged and stoned. The message of the pro-life movement isn't always well received in political places in Washington and Harrisburg, but it is a necessary one. So with patience and prayer and a whole lot of time, love, compassion, this is an issue that, as you heard from our panel this morning, that can change hearts and minds. If you've never been to a Pennsylvania March for Life, today is the way to be here. Come down to Harrisburg, 11 o'clock, the Pennsylvania State Capitol grounds. You'll have a lot of friends who care about life, about moms, and the children they carry. I'm Jeff Coleman from Morning Light. Thanks for watching. We'll see you at 11 o'clock.